What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Solutions Podcast. As always, your host, Ramzy. So today we have a very special guest. And why is that? Because this individual is a 30-year-old veteran, not a 30-year-old veteran, a 30-year veteran of the United States Army, has served at every single command that you can think of, from lieutenant all the way to full bird colonel. He currently sits in the role of the chief of operations for this company called ProTrain. Now, this company is set out to help a lot of military families, specifically military spouses. So please give it up for today's guest, Mr. Kevin Smith. And good afternoon, Mr. Smith. Thank you for joining us on the show today. Can you give us and the audience a bit of background on yourself, your company, and what we're going to be discussing today?
Ramzy, I'd be my pleasure. First of all, thanks for having me on today. Okay, My name's Kevin Smith, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for ProTrain. ProTrain is 100% small, woman-owned business. It's owned and operated by Betty Gardner. We have a direct relationship with colleges, universities, community colleges, but moreover, we're going to talk about the relationship that we have with soldiers and their military spouses today, okay? But we're very involved in workforce development. We know the types of things that people need to learn to have high demand portable jobs and careers. And that's very important. And I'll get into that a little bit here in a little bit. ProTrain has been serving many great military spouses and soldiers since 2007 in the MyCAA program, which we'll talk about tonight, okay? Making sure that the military spouses had portable jobs. A little bit about Kevin. I was in the Army for 30 years. I'm a combat veteran out of Iraq. I was privileged to command soldiers at every level, lieutenant through full colonel. I retired in 2009, went to work for ProTrain about a year and a half later, and I've been with ProTrain just under 15 years. I'm a combat veteran out of Iraq, and most of my background is logistics and training commands, and I hope that I'll be able to bring a wealth of information to your viewers on this and subsequent podcasts we can do together.
Oh, thank you. So just a bit of clarification, because it's maybe a term that I might not be familiar with. You mentioned small woman business owned. Is that like, I'm sure you're not meaning short woman. I mean, I'm assuming it's a small business owned by women.
I can tell you, Betty's probably smiling because Betty's all of about 5 foot tall. Okay. But
Okay.
in these under the Small Business Administration, there's different ways that you can classify your business for set aside for competition. Small woman-owned business is one. Veteran-owned business is another. Service disabled owned veteran business is another type. Those are all various types of categorizations of small businesses, because there are times when there are procurement offerings and acquisitions that they do set aside intentionally to help small businesses out. Okay. ProTrain has been around since 2005, and we have survived COVID and everything else, and we're going strong. We've got 16 full-time employees, about 3 part-time employees, and then we probably have about 24 1099 contract instructors who help us do live online and live mentor courses that we offer for many of our offerings.
Okay, and then as we're talking off of recording, you mentioned that the company is fully remote, right?
We are. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting in my home office in Chesterfield, Virginia. My CEO, Betty Gardner, is in Windermere, Florida. She spends some of her time in Raleigh, North Carolina. She's a Wolfpack Nation fan. I got to do that. I got to give credit for Wolfpack Nation there. We've got training system managers that are just outside of Eglin Air Force Base. There's some up in Ohio. A sales manager just outside of Cleveland. A corporate business development guy just outside of Carlsbad, California. information systems guy in Augusta, Georgia. My training manager is in Bangor, Maine, and my registrar and some of my other support personnel are also around the Raleigh, North Carolina area. So we are all across the United States. But ProTrain is also in a program called the Military Spouse Employment Program, okay, which is a program that the DoD has various businesses who are dedicated to try to hiring military spouses. And I'm proud to say that Betty was in the second inauguration. Okay, because imagine this big ceremony. The Secretary of Defense for Military Programs, okay, out of OSD, is signing the chapter, and Betty Gardner, little ProTrain, is sitting there between Procter and Gamble and Macy's.
Oh,
I mean, it was something else. Okay, so we really do go out of our way to hire military spouses. Right now, we have 3 military spouses. There either are military spouses or have been military spouses on our payroll, and we're quite the diverse work group located all across the United States.
okay. And then, so y'all have many programs that y'all manage, but one that you discussed with me was the MyCAA.
Yes, MyCAA. You got to love the government and all of our acronyms. Okay.
Yeah.
MyCAA stands for My Career Advancement Account, or MyCAA for short. This is a Department of Defense funded program that gives military spouses of certain ranks up to $4,000 of free money. That money can be used for either towards an associate's degree, of which you'll never be able to pay for all of an associate's degree with $4,000, but you can start on it. Or you could take credential programs like ProTrain offers for a total of $4,000. Now, they have put some rank restriction on it. Okay, so E1 through E6, those military spouses, second and first lieutenant and captain spouses, and W1 and W2 spouses are all eligible to take the MyCAA program funding, to take those programs and get it. The whole reason the MyCAA program exists is because military spouses historically, Ramzy, have had a much higher unemployment rate than the average civilian spouse on the outside. Okay. For example, going into COVID, the unemployment rate for military spouses was down to about 12%. And that's a lot because of the great work that First Lady Jill Biden and then Michelle Obama had done to try to get more spouses hired through the military spouse employment program. Okay. All of a sudden, COVID hit. When COVID hit, 48% of all military spouses had to quit their job. Why? Because somebody had to become the stay-at-home parent and stay and watch the kids. Okay, if you could mute them.
Got it.
There we go. Awesome. Okay, so the spouse had to stay home to homeschool the kids. The military member of the family unit, they went off to fight the wars or do whatever the military had for them next. But 48% had to stop their job. There was just no about it. 84% of them said they would have never quit their jobs had they had the choice. Okay. So today, if you were to Google what is the unemployment rate for military spouses, it's going to be someplace between 20 and 23% unemployment rate. The national unemployment rate is still just under 4%. So it's almost 8 times higher for military spouses. And so we have been with the MyCAA program since 2007 when it started. And so we are absolutely passionate about trying to help military spouses get the right type of programs that they need so that they're going to have the right high demand portable job skills. Because, another problem with spouses when they move from one place to the next in a BCS move is they're worried that will their career be viable in the next place they go. Well, we've studied the types of high demand portable careers that spouses need. So no matter where their next PCS move takes them, they're going to have the ability to retain a job because everybody needs those type of careers. We have over 35 programs overall that are approved. I think it's like 38 or 39. Okay. Now, there are some funding restrictions. As I mentioned before, it's like $4,000 total.
Mhm.
Up until February this past year, spouses could get a waiver, and if it was over $2,000, say for like medical billing and coding, which is almost $4,000, they could
Mhm.
get that waiver for all of that money and take it all within the same fiscal year. The
Oh,
DOD
okay.
last February said, no, you cannot do that because we're really tightening down on the money right now. So they're only allowing spouses to take $2,000 per FY. Okay. So
Mm.
because of that, ProTrain took a real hard look at what we're offering. Okay. And there's about 18 or 19 programs that we offer that are $2,000 or below. On top of
Mhm.
that, because we're a military spouse employment partner, they offered an additional $300 scholarship, which lets any
Okay.
spouse take a program up to $2,300 and not violate the DoD rule. On top of that,
Mm.
also throw in a free laptop computer for every military spouse that gets approved to take one of our programs. Okay. So we're really a great, affordable opportunity for military spouses to seize the training that they need to have the right type of training at a price that won't make them go bankrupt. Now, if they want a program that's over $2,300, in addition to that, let's say it's
Mhm.
$2,500. Okay, the spouse just has to take $200 out of their pocket, and they can pay us off with a credit card. And if they need a payment plan, we'll work with them too. That's a
Okay.
zero interest payment plan because everybody and their brother wants to charge interest these days, and nobody's got
Mhm.
that type of money. There's a lot of families they've hit the credit card way too much, and they're just trying to make ends meet from paycheck to paycheck. We understand that, but we understand
Mhm.
that these are the types of programs that they want to get hired in. And if employers see that they've got those credentials, they're going to hire them on the spot because they are all high demand type careers.
Okay. And could you talk about which specific, like, what specific programs y'all have? Like some like, I don't know, is it IT or something like
Great,
that?
great question. Okay, we have programs in human resources, so like APHR and VHR. Okay,
Mhm.
and then we've got IT programs, things like the CompTIA A plus, Net plus security plus programs. Okay, in medical, we've got things like pharmacy technician. The great thing about the pharmacy technician program is that if you pass the program and the PCTB national exam, you pass the background test and the drug test. Okay, we put you in a 120-hour internship program. It's a non-pay internship program for 120 hours with either CVS or Walgreens. It's closest to where you live. When you come out of that 120-hour internship program, Walgreens and CVS are hiring you as fast as you finish because you can't go into one of those places and not see hiring pharmacy techs now. Ask me more about our programs. Okay,
Yeah.
and no matter where the spouse goes, you're going to have a Walgreens on one corner and a CVS right across the intersection. And you're like, well, how come there's a Walgreens and a CVS there? You know why? Because
Mhm.
they're keeping baby boomers like me who average 4 to 5 prescriptions a day. They're keeping us alive with modern medicine, and they're filling all those prescriptions to keep us baby boomers alive. But that's a great job for military spouse. Same thing, medical billing and coding. Now that's a higher price course, and so the spouse is going to have to take some money out of their pocket and work with us on a payment plan if they want that. But medical billing and coding is high demand no matter where you go. And in some places, depending on who you work for, you might even be able to work from home in that type of a job.
Mhm.
And more spouses coming out of COVID are also trying to look at what types of jobs they can work from home because they got used to the comfort of just kind of staying in the bubble there and still watching the kids and everything and running the household while the spouse is channeling their efforts towards their military career.
Nice. So, and this is just to throw a very specific scenario. How about for dual military spouses of reservists? Would that program fall in place or no? So, let's say, for example, you got a reservist and you get an active, but technically they're both spouses as well. How would
Right.
that work? If that would work?
The reservists, because they're not active duty, would qualify for MyCAA.
Okay.
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 If they go reserve on active duty, they
Hmm.
wouldn't. But we're going to have another podcast coming up here about the Army Credentialing Assistance Program. And
Mm-hmm.
that program gives active duty, reserve component, and Army National Guard $4,000 worth of training every single FY. It's way
Oh, okay.
more than the MyCAA program, and that's why we talked about doing a separate podcast for that, because
Mm-hmm.
that is a huge program in the military, and um, I don't want to steal the thunder on that, but
Mm-hmm.
we were with that program when it started in the mind of the sergeant major of the Army, because I'm the guy that talked to the sergeant major of the Army into doing that program. So I can't wait to talk about that on a future podcast, because there's a real rich history about how ProTrain has helped that program grow over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, and that's amazing because as someone that's been in 16 years, I was in before that program existed, and I remember like when I was younger, I was like, I don't want to go to college. I want to get certified in something that I can just get out and action it, and that wasn't an option then until the I would yeah the Army credentialing program. I think for us it's Army. They call it the Army Cool program, but I know that now I think they have Air Force Cool and
Right.
other. It's across all
The
branches,
Army,
correct?
yeah, the Army Cool website, Ramsey, is where you go to look at all the credentials that align with the different MOSs. Okay, there's like some at last count, it's almost 16 or 1700 individual credentials that align with all the different MOSs in the Army. I mean, look at logistics. I mean, Ordnance Quartermaster and Transportation Corps. Last time I looked, have almost 135 enlisted
Mm-hmm.
specialties, 38 warrant officer specialties, and 8 different types of commissioned officers. Okay, so though there's a lot of credentials that span across all that, but I'm gonna save the secret sauce till we do that podcast, because I will tell you, your viewers will want to know about the MyCAA program.
Oh, nice, nice. So back to the MyCAA, right? MyCAA program. What else can you tell us about that we don't know? How could somebody contact y'all and get that process started?
Right. Well, first of all, they would just go to the ProTrain website, www.protrain.edu. Very simple.
Okay.
www.protrain.edu. They can click on the tuition assistance button at the top of our website, and
Mm-hmm.
then there's various programs. One of the programs that they'll see, there's a logo for the MyCAA program. They click on that.
Mm-hmm.
They click on that button. It'll open up. It'll show the spouses all the programs that we offer that are approved in the MyCAA program, and then they just click on a button and they can submit a request for more information. Okay, if they
Mm-hmm.
want to get a separate briefing we've done a webinar with a separate briefing, a PowerPoint chart. Okay, they can actually
Okay.
listen to the history about MyCAA all over again, and
Mm-hmm.
we can send that to them. And then one of our training assistant managers, who are both military spouses, will contact that spouse.
Mm-hmm.
They'll sit down and talk to them about what they think their future is. What do they want to be? Because we're not going to try to shove a round peg in a square hole. We want to try to match what we offer with what the spouse's end state and desires are, because that's really important when it comes to trying to help spouses realize their future dreams. Okay. Then the spouse works with us on a program. They select a program. We then put
Mm-hmm.
together what's called an education training plan, or an ETP for short. The education training plan then gets sent back to the military spouse. The military spouse then goes to the MyCAA website, and they submit that education training plan and have a counseling session with one of the MyCAA counselors to make sure that they've really thought this out. This is what they want to do. And the MyCAA counselors, the first thing they do is they go into the database, and they make sure that they're in there. And what do? They go check gears. Okay. Because
Okay.
they'll see if your spouse is active duty, because they'll see if your spouse is active duty, if they're pending court martial or anything like that. I mean, they'll know exactly immediately if Mrs.
Yeah.
Sanchez or Mrs. Smith is eligible. They'll know right
Uh-huh.
there. Okay,
Okay.
and they work very well with us. I mean, we even had, because at one point E6s were not eligible. Okay. We had a spouse whose husband was going to get promoted on like 1 April to E6. We got her approved when he was an E5 promotable in the last week that before he
Right
turned to
before
E6.
promotion.
I mean, we moved heaven and earth, and the counselor knew it was really important that that spouse got that program. Okay. And we were all doing backflips because it was the right thing to do to take care of that spouse to make sure she could get the program that she needed before her husband made that promotion. Now, the reason that they've added E6 and O3 spouses to that is because think about where you're at in your career. You're almost at about the 10-year mark. And what happens at the 10-year mark? Do I stay in and retire or do I get out? You're right about that decision point. Well, if the wife or the spouse is happy because they've got gainful employment, then that doesn't become as much a factor waiting on the family's decision on whether or not the military member stays all the way to 20 years and gets to retirement or gets out. Okay. And so that has become a retention tool across the DoD by doing that. And that's exactly why they did that.
Interesting. And which of your programs would you say is the most desired?
I would say in the top 3 or 4, project management, because it goes across a number of different realms. Okay. Project management, medical assistant, medical billing and coding, medical admin assistant, the associate for professional human resources or the professional human resources. Okay. And then, as I said before, A+, Net Plus, and Security Plus. Okay. So the neat thing about that is, regardless, and we've learned this with the Department of Labor statistics, it doesn't matter who sits in the White House. It doesn't matter who controls the House or the Senate. It doesn't matter if your governor is Republican, Democrat, or independent. The types of jobs that people need to stay employed today are what? Medical, IT, and business related. Then it's just whether or not you also have tourism or something like that in your state. Okay. But medical, IT, and business are the high demand portable careers that military spouses need. So regardless where their next PCS move takes them, they're going to get hired again.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. That's good to know. What's scary, as I mentioned, I've been in 16 years myself and never had the opportunity to hear about this programs until Miss Megan, which she just logged in, right, was putting it on there, which is why I wanted to reach out to y'all and be able to get more information so we can help spread the word. Because even myself, as a senior non-commissioned officer, I still go out to the formations and I talk to them and try to pass this information around. I also
It's funny
in my
you talk
current
about
position,
formations because the one thing I learned, because remember now I've worked at every level and commanded at every level, lieutenant through colonel. One of my mentors told me, because you're in an institution, privates get replaced by privates. Private becomes corporals. Corporals become sergeants. The sergeants are out and they're moving to pick a place. Okay.
yes,
Every 90 days in your organization, about 24% of your formation has changed out. The reason I know that is because there's a report that units have to do every month called the unit status report. Okay. And the unit status report, hold on, we're going to need to mute Mr. Mike there, who just came on. There we go. We got him. All right. So the unit status report calculates the number of people who have left your organization over the last 90 days divided by the end strength of your organization. I can tell you I've been the unit status officer in probably 10 or 12 different organizations in my 30 years. The average turnover rate in 90 days, regardless of what the unit is around 24%. So that's 90 days, which means in 6 months, almost half of your faces in the formation are not the same faces, which means what? Half of the family members are also different. Betty and I went to a yellow ribbon event at Fort Bragg, and we were asked to talk about this same program. And I asked the crowd, I said, okay, we had a whole bleachers full of people. How many people in here know about MyCAA? one lieutenant colonel and his command sergeant major raised their hand. We had company commanders, first sergeants, platoon leaders, platoon sergeants. Nobody had heard about the MyCAA program. And it had been in effect for over 3 years before we actually got in front of that group. So, like I said, if you don't repeat yourself on the important stuff every 90 days,
yes,
look what percentage of your people don't know what's going on.
no, trust me. Like moving forward, when I introduce myself, hey, I'm Ramzy. Have you heard of ProTrain? You know, just to help it out. But
The
okay,
following was an unsolicited advertisement. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. You know, no relation, right? But I do appreciate you coming on to talk about this information. I always like to ask the question: if you were king for a day of your organization, how would you make any changes, positive, negative, whichever?
If I
How
were
would you
king,
improve the
if
program?
I were the king of ProTrain,
Yes.
oh my gosh, my boss is probably going, oh, this
Well,
better.
well, 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 Kevin, I just came off of mute.
Oh, Betty.
If I were king or queen for today, my whole goal, sincerely, is to help people education to employment at an affordable cost, because it really ticks me off as to how much people are charging students and putting them into debt. And that is not my goal. My goal is to make sure that people can get their education for their career goals at an affordable price. Kevin, you can say whatever you want.
Well, first and
Thanks.
foremost, let's let the audience know that was Miss Betty Gardner, the CEO, right?
CEO of ProTrain, right?
The CEO of ProTrain, right?
Right.
So I appreciate
Betty
you
and I
calling
joke
on and
all the
coming
time that if
in.
she was in the military, I said she'd probably be a command sergeant major. She goes, oh no, I'd be the general. So no, Betty's absolutely right. As spouses go and look out there, they see what's available. It's amazing. You'll have training providers realize that the max that somebody will get paid for a course is $4,000. So what do? They jack the price up to $4,000. That's not right. We have only one course that is close to $4,000, and the reason for that, and it's medical billing and coding, is because there are 7 books that come with medical billing and coding, okay, and 3 of them are hard copy, and they have to be hard copy because you have to have the hard copy books when you sit the National Healthcare Association or NHA certification exam. You got to have those hard copy books there with you, desk side, even if you take that test remote. Okay. So, but Betty has always been about affordable education. We've done a lot to make sure that we're offering the right types of courses. If you offer the right types of courses, you offer an affordable price, and then you have great people like Megan and Natalie and Kayla talking to military spouses, because they've all been there, done it, packed up the household goods, moved the kids, dozens of times. Our folks talk spouse speak. Okay. They know what people, live by every day, the tough times, good times, sad times, all of that. They've all lived them. Say, and they can really relate to our ladies when they talk to them about their family, their future, and their career things.
Okay. I see Miss Megan turn on her camera.
That's Miss Megan. Yeah, that's my TikTok. That's my TikTok queen. Those are our viewing audiences. You wanna see some great stuff about MyCAA and Army Cap. Just tune into Miss Megan. She's got thousands of followers.
And if you don't mind, can you put your information out there so everybody can hear?
Yeah, absolutely. So hi, everybody. My name is Megan Simi. I am one of the training assessment managers with ProTrain, and I can put all of my information in the chat if that works best. What do you think?
Yeah, you could put it on and just you could say it just in case for the people who don't have the chat. I'm gonna try to add it to the
Absolutely.
end though.
Yeah, and
Megan, put it in the chat, and Natalie, put your information in the chat as well. Thank you both.
Of course. So my email address is msimme@protrain.edu. And a good number to reach me, you can text me or call me, is 850-665-2992. And that'll bring you directly to me, and we'll be able to help you or your spouse get information that you're looking for.
Awesome. Thank you, Miss Megan.
Miss Natalie, you want to check in here? This is like watching the Hollywood squares on this screen display here.
It's like the Brady. It's like the Brady Bunch.
Oh, I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. But hi, I'm Natalie Villasenor. I am the newer training assessment manager that I work with Miss Megan. I'm also a military spouse. My husband is a Green Beret down at 7th Group in Florida. And okay. I've been with ProTrain for about a year now.
What's your email address, Megan or Natalie?
I'll put it all in the chat for everybody, but it's going to be nvillasenor@protrain.edu.
Yeah, both of you all put your stuff in the chat if you don't mind, and I appreciate it.
Our
we have a wonderful.
It's just first initial, first name, last name @protrain.edu.
Yeah, we have a wonderful team. I couldn't ask for a better working team to help support all the students that we support. So, I'm so grateful that we're having this podcast, and I hope we have more in the future, because it's all about supporting people and their futures.
Awesome. Thank you very much, ma'am. So to wrap up the show, any parting words of wisdom that you got for the audience?
I think my biggest lesson is the one that we talked about here, and that is, our military is an enduring institution, okay? Whether it's Army, Air Force, Marines, Navy, okay? With that, there's constant turnover. That's undeniable, okay? And so programs like we've talked about tonight for MyCAA, programs that we'll talk about in the future for Army CAP, Air Force COOL, okay? Those programs are important to keep repeating yourself to your soldiers and your family members, because if you don't, it's just the greatest information that they're not going to have heard about, okay? And we've seen where Megan or Natalie will talk to one soldier. Next thing you know, I've got 5 guys out of the same squad or out of the same platoon, and they're coming in one right after another, because the word of mouth is spreading that there are programs like this. Military spouses can get the programs they need to get hired and help be part of the family sustainment income. Okay. And that's what's important. Okay. I learned a long time ago, happy wife, happy life. Okay. And I drug Mrs. Smith through 19 household good moves, count them 19 in 30 years. Okay. And because she was employed, regardless where the Army sent me to go fight wars and do things, as long as she was employed and she was happy, life was good. So hopefully that's something that everybody will take away and pass that on to their soldiers and all those in their organizations, because these are great programs that, in this case, the DOD has put out there to help military spouses, because their unemployment rate is undeniably way, way too high. And our mission is to get that down collectively to something that's a lot closer to the national average.
Awesome.
I have one more thing that I would like to add if we have time. So I just wanted to add that soldiers, once again, get $4,000 each and every fiscal year, and spouses get a total of $4,000. That is right now split up in between 2 fiscal years, and ProTrain is offering some really amazing incentives to make sure that our spouses are getting the certifications that they need. So reach out, use your funding. It's there for you to use and for you to better yourselves.
Awesome. Thank you, Megan. Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. And I look forward to getting you back on for a follow-on episode on the other programs that y'all have, and then to get some Leadership 101.
It's been my pleasure, Ramzy. You have a great night. Thanks for all who took time out to join us tonight. We even had a soldier and his wife that I was talking to earlier. I was talking about Army CA for him and MyCAA for his spouse, and she was talking about the APHR program for human resources. So it's great that everybody could join us today. I really, once again, thank you for allowing us into your podcast home to help spread the word to the herd about all the great things that we can help with. And it's our pleasure to be with you tonight, sir. Look forward to doing it again.
Absolutely. I agree with everything that Kevin just said. I want to sincerely thank you, and we look forward to continuing our relationship because that's what it's about, relationships. So thank you, sir.
Awesome, and thank you, Miss Betty, for calling on. It's not so often that we get the CEO herself to come out and show some love. So I appreciate it. We appreciate you, and again, thank you to everybody that signed in. And we're going to head out. So there you have it, folks. That was Mr. Smith and the rest of the ProTrain family. Again, a wonderful program for military spouses to take advantage of. They're 100% correct. Nobody gives enough credit to the spouses that support their men and women overseas or while they're serving. This program seems like it's a wonderful opportunity to make sure that we keep them in mind and in the forefront of the family as well. Nowadays, the recession is strong and two incomes is better than one. So when you have the time, go check out the ProTrain site and sign your spouse up if you qualify. Again, that's E6 and below, O3 and below, and W2 and W1. Thank you all for tuning in, and we are out.